According to Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, the water shortage in Keon and its environs could have been avoided if action had been taken earlier under the previous administration. Dr. Drew, who is also the political representative for constituency 8, inclusive of Keon, pointed a finger at the previous administration, which he said did nothing to address the acute water situation. Prime Minister Drew commented on matters involving the bead company, whose water drilling activities were halted under the Team Unity administration.
From my understanding and in having my discussions, the previous minister with responsible for water did not want bead to continue. He had an idea of another company in mind. That is from my understanding in discussing. And another company actually approached as well. You know, sometimes one company working under one administration changes. You say, well, you know, we can't work with this company, we have to get a new company. But for all that time, not even 1 gallon of water added to the systems here in St. Kitts. I think that was an egregious act. So no, this issue of drought and lack of water in St. Peter's and Keon is a man-made issue as well. Not that climate change is man-made, I'm not talking about that perspective. Even if we have climate change, which we have, and droughts, which we expected, that is why a plan was put in place. Look, let's find water. Climate change is happening. Droughts are coming. The country is expanding. Let's find water. So what is happening in Keon is because, and I have to put it at the feet of the former administration, nothing done. No desalination, no expansion of desalination, no drilling done, nothing done to add an extra gallon of water to our sources. So now that climate change is upon us, and now that we have these droughts, what do we expect? People in Keon without water. And this government in less than a year has done more than what they would have done in 7 years, which is zero, nothing, nada.
In tackling the water situation on the island, Prime Minister Drew said other solutions are being pursued in addition to the bead drilling. He informed the news media that Cabinet had recently secured funding for a desalination plant that would produce 2 million gallons of water per day. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
The anti-narcotics unit of the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force recovered a rifle scope, namely one Tasco Red Dot sight attachment, on August 31st in the Shadwell area on St. Kitts. The contraband was found during the search of an empty lot. According to police, the scene was processed by the crime scene unit and the item was taken into police custody. No one has been held accountable for the find. The police continue to encourage citizens and residents who may have information about criminal activity to call the nearest police station or the Crime Stoppers hotline at 707. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. St. Kitts Nevis shoppers, now you can order from China and have your items delivered to you here in St. Kitts Nevis. Introducing Channel Links, a shipping and logistics company from St. Martin that is making your ordering from China dreams come through. Channel Links imports top goods and items for vehicles, accessories, consumer electronics, cosmetics, furniture, toys, house supplies, and much more. Ship your items to a Chinese address, and Channel Links will take care of the rest to ship your products to St. Kitts. If you wish to get your items much faster, Channel Links also offers air freight services. So shop on Alibaba, AliExpress, and other Asian shopping sites. Get low affordable prices and get your items shipped to you. Call or WhatsApp Channel Links in St. Martin at 1-721-554-4802, 580-0171, 580-0065, or 580-4834. Or you can email them at contact_us at channel-links.com. Channel Links, your shipping solution.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
It's exam week at the police training complex as the 29 recruits of course number 46 mark the first 6 weeks of the 6-month journey to become fully fledged officers of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. On Thursday, August 31st, the men and women took to the parade square to execute military drills learned over the past weeks in a show of discipline and teamwork. Drill Sergeant Antonio Brown belted out several commands to groups comprising 12 males and 17 females during the drills exam that was executed under the watchful eye of instructors made up of former and active police and defense force officials. Sergeant Marvin Thompson, chief instructor at the police training complex, said the first round of exams is done after the first 6 weeks of training. He explained that the training course has progressed well, experiencing only the typical minor disruptions. Sergeant Thompson noted that continuous improvement is necessary if the young men and women expect to graduate from the police training. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
A discriminatory practice against nurses of St. Kitts and Nevis who studied in Cuba has officially ended, said Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, who is also the Minister of Health. Speaking to the St. Kitts and Nevis news media at his August roundtable conversation, Dr. Drew said the new Nursing Council had reversed the policy after reviewing the matter.
For the last decade or so, the nurses who studied in Cuba were denied the opportunity to become registered nurses. When you had nurses from Cuba with the same degree who were accepted as registered nurses here in St. Kitts and Nevis, while they were accepted, our own citizens who studied in Cuba were not accepted. And so recently, the Nursing Council, the new Nursing Council, took a look at the matter, and they deemed that it was the right thing to get the Cuban, our citizens who graduated from the nursing programs in Cuba to be registered nurses. So I want to congratulate all the nurses thus far who have been given their rightful place in the health sector and are now registered nurses here in St. Kitts and Nevis. That injustice went on for too long. And I said that if that had not been corrected, the nurses were in a position, and even the government, to bring in a class action suit against the Nursing Council for discrimination. One group that has the exact same degree and qualifications are accepted and registered, while the other group is being told that they cannot be registered. And so that injustice over the last decade has been corrected.
While government is not obligated to compensate the affected nurses, Prime Minister Drew said government should have a look at the matter, as each of the nurses would have lost thousands of dollars over the last decade from the discriminatory practice. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
St. Kitts Nevis shoppers, now you can order from China and have your items delivered to you here in St. Kitts Nevis. Introducing Channel Links, a shipping and logistics company from St. Martin that is making your ordering from China dreams come true. Channel Links imports top goods and items for vehicles, accessories, consumer electronics, cosmetics, furniture, toys, house supplies, and much more. Ship your items to a Chinese address, and Channel Links will take care of the rest to ship your products to St. Kitts. If you wish to get your items much faster, Channel Links also offers air freight services. So shop on Alibaba, AliExpress, and other Asian shopping sites. Get low affordable prices and get your items shipped to you. Call or WhatsApp Channel Links in St. Martin at 1-721-554-4802, 580-0171, 580-0065, or 580-4834. Or you can email them at contact_us@channel-links.com. Channel Links, your shipping solution.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony is reporting a significant decrease in the number of dengue cases in Guyana. According to the Health Minister, the decrease in dengue cases could potentially be a result of the extensive fogging exercise being conducted throughout the country.
A month ago, we had about 400 cases in a given week. but we have seen that drop off significantly. So now we're down to about 200 cases per week.
Minister Anthony reported that in recent weeks, about 8,000 tests were conducted, which revealed approximately 2,000 positive cases. Of these reported cases, 6 children died over the past few weeks after they were infected with dengue at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Dr. Anthony further emphasized the importance of individuals seeking help at their local health centers if they suspect they have contracted the dengue virus. Dengue fever is a mosquito-borne illness that occurs in the tropical and subtropical areas of the world. Mild dengue fever causes a high fever and flu-like symptoms. The severe form of dengue fever, also called dengue hemorrhagic fever, can cause serious bleeding, a sudden drop in blood pressure, and shock. Having experience with the disease in the past, the minister assuring that Guyana is capable of handling the current outbreak.
The persons to use a lot of fluid, right, so that they're hydrated.
Last month, Guyana reported over 300 cases of new infections. With the weekly infections being close to 100 persons, the majority of these cases were recorded in regions 2, 3, 4, and 5. Curice Gonzalez reporting for HGP Nightly News.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has lauded Jamaica for its progress in strengthening its policy frameworks and implementing ambitious climate policy agenda. The multilateral lender gave the assessment on Thursday. In its first review of Jamaica's performance under the Precautionary Liquidity Line, PLL, and the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, RSF, approved in March, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, said Jamaica has made important progress on its fiscal reform agenda. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the IMF's review acknowledges the country's fiscal prudence.
The macroeconomic stability that Jamaica has established has won sort of praises from the international community. You know, Javon, it is indeed something for us to to celebrate that Jamaica has lower unemployment than Canada. It has lower inflation than the UK. And for the first few quarters of this year, higher growth than the United States. I don't think there has ever been a...
The PLL gives the country access to $611 million in the event of adverse shocks. The Resilience and Sustainability Facility gives access to $255 million for disaster risk reduction and climate-smart projects. In its assessment of Jamaica, the IMF also says the country has made continuous progress in enhancing the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing AML-CTF policy frameworks. Jamaica is currently on the grey list for the Financial Action Task Force FATF. Dr. Clark says all the legislative changes have been made to meet the FATF's October deadline.
The 3 areas that they must be operationalized in and must be seen as effective before Jamaica can exit the grey listing are 1, to ensure that the beneficial ownership regime that the Companies Office has responsibility for is effective in its risk-based supervision. 2, to ensure that the General Legal Counsel implements an effective risk-based supervision of the legal profession in accordance with the AML standards. And 3, that the FSC similarly engages in effective risk-based supervision of the trust and cooperative societies segment.
He says once these areas are operationalized and meet FATF's requirement, Jamaica should be removed from the grey list.
Generals in Gabon gathered to pray for the success of Brice Oligui Nguema, the general that took down the 55-year-long Bongo dynasty after staging a coup on Wednesday. Nguema arrested Ali Bongo after he was announced the winner of Saturday's presidential elections. The coup sparked celebrations in the capital.
This spells the end of all the killings that my forefathers' parents and I have experienced. This is all now over.
For the last 50 years, we have been ruled by a bunch of gangsters that pillage the country's resources and have made our people beggars.
Our elders can't afford healthcare. Young people are unemployed. The situation has just gotten worse for a country that's so rich.
$6 billion worth of crude oil were exported last year. Gabon is a country rich in natural resources where most live on less than $2 a day. The junta have accused Bongo's family of high treason, accusing them of stealing billions from state coffers. Meanwhile, the African Union has expelled Gabon. The UN and the EU, including France, the former colonial power, have condemned the coup.
We would like to reassure all donors, development partners, as well as state creditors that all provisions will be taken to guarantee respect for our country's commitments, both externally and internally.
Nguema is expected to be sworn in as president of transition on Monday by the Constitutional Court. This once trusted confidant of the Bongo family and France appears to some a continuation of the past.
He is an insider of the regime. So it shows that this is somebody who understands the inner workings of the regimes, particularly within an apparatus as strategic as the defense and security sector.
The political opposition and civil society members call on the junta to complete the vote count, saying the presidential elections were marred by fraud. Nguema is seeking to unite the country. For his supporters, the coup is an opportunity for a new beginning in a country that has lost trust in its leaders. Nicholas Hawke, Al Jazeera.
A fire like this has not been seen here for years. Rows of dead bodies, evidence of the inferno that engulfed the building in Johannesburg city centre.
People were jumping, we heard people screaming, and some of them, they were jumping with their luggages. There was fire, too much smoke, and the fire started from the first floor of the flat going up. So the people inside the floor, the ones who were at the third floor, fourth floor, it was difficult for them to escape the fire.
As the search and recovery operation began, Treasure Lee looked for her missing daughter Janet. She had lived there for about a year. The 5-story building was abandoned but home to many illegal occupants.
I'm confused, I'm scared, I'm traumatized, you name them. I just want to see my daughter alive. That's all that I want. Whether she's burned, I just want to see her.
The fire started in the early hours of the morning while many slept, giving them little time to escape from overcrowded conditions. The building was leased by the city to a non-government organization which looks after homeless people and drug addicts.
If you suspect that you have lost your beloved one, go to Frederick Street, they will assist you.
But many refuse to move, watching and waiting for word about their loved ones, wondering where they'll sleep tonight. Some hang on to the little they could grab as they ran from the building. While it took firefighters about 2 hours to extinguish the flames, the search and recovery operations have gone on for far longer than that. Police are investigating what caused the fire and why the building was illegally occupied and overcrowded. City officials say there are at least 700 abandoned buildings here which are being illegally sublet, taken over by informal landlords, charging people for accommodation. Many survivors don't know where they'll sleep next. For Treasure Lee, all she can do now is look for her daughter in nearby hospitals and morgues. Famida Miller, Al Jazeera, Johannesburg.
Well, Luyanda Tamzeli is a housing rights campaigner, and he joins us now from Cape Town. Great to have you with us. Perhaps you can help us understand why so many people are forced to live in these abandoned buildings.
First and foremost, thank you for having me, and deepest condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones, and our prayers go to the families that their loved ones are in hospital. One thing that I think I must first clarify is that Usindiso shelter, it's a shelter that was operated by the city of Johannesburg, that was meant for women and children that have been abused. But the city of Johannesburg neglected and left that building to be the way it is now. It is quite disturbing then that now we are seeing the city of Johannesburg blaming the residents of that building, blaming the civil society organizations for their own failure, for neglecting the building, for failing to fulfill their obligation, their constitutional obligation. It's quite saddening. And for them to use this strategy as a political gains, to try to gain some political points, it's sad and it's disturbing as well. We have seen politicians from both the ANC and DA coming out and using this tragedy to gain political points. It's sad and it's disgusting as well.
But the government, I mean, the city authorities, they say they can't move people from these buildings unless they've got alternative accommodation for them, and they simply don't have that alternative accommodation available.
That's the biggest issue that all municipalities, in fact, in South Africa have, is that they have lost touch of the ground. They've lost touch on what is happening on the ground. The issue of housing and lack of housing in South Africa is an issue that has been raised in many years. It's not an issue that is only coming now. But we have seen municipalities not having plans for that. Instead, what they are doing is that they are only promising people with pipelines projects that never materialize. And that's a huge issue. We are currently seeing in all municipalities that people are moving in the inner cities, people are occupying in the inner city, because what is happening is that people that are living in the township need to commute long distances and long hours to access work, and going back home, they're doing the same thing. And they're spending, some of them, they're even spending 50% of their salaries towards transport, towards taxis. And that's why people have ended up having to occupy spaces that are close to their workplaces. And we have seen the city, and we have seen municipalities, and actually in all spheres of government, not addressing this issue of special injustice. You know the history of South Africa, that during apartheid, most of the black and colored people were moved away from the inner city, but we have not seen that black and colored people be moved into the city.
But what is the solution then? Do you think people should be moved on from these buildings and rehomed in more habitable places, or should they be allowed to stay, and should the city take charge of these buildings and give them the services that they need and make them safe to live in?
So what needs to happen is that, first and foremost, there has to be a meaningful engagement with communities, which the municipalities are failing on. There has to be a meaningful engagement, and the amicable solution must be reached and agreed by both parties, not the city of Cape Town not the municipalities that have lost touch of the ground, to come with solutions that are actually further making sure that people are forced away from the city, from the inner city. So what will be a solution here is that municipalities, they must have a meaningful engagement and consult with communities to reach a suitable solution.
Okay, Luyanda Mtamzeli, thanks very much for taking the time to join us there from Cape Town.
As the SKNFA Super 6 playoffs continue, we will feature each club participating in the tournament. Let's feature today Newtown United. After missing the SKNFA playoffs for several years, Newtown has finally made it into this year's competition, with the hope of creating something special. But their end to the regular season was a concern for their coach and fans alike, as they lost their last 2 matches. Nevertheless, they started off the playoffs like a rocket. Up against St. Paul's United, the defending champions, their first match, Newtown hit them with a surefire early goal.
One across and Lawrence giving it to Newtown in the back of the net. Lawrence with a whole shot foot and Newtown going up some 1-0 here.
But St. Paul's, like the champions they are, bounced back to win the match 2-1.
And that one coming off of the Newtown player and going back into the back of the net. St. Paul's getting a late equalizer here. Newtown not defending that one. And Dickwan all alone. Can Dickwan find it? And Dickwan fires and it's in the back of the net. St. Paul's making something out of netting here. Getting that counter-attack. Marco Gomes again with a poor delivery into the box. And St. Paul's counter-attacking off of that poor delivery.
Their latest result was a 2-0 loss to Connery FC on Friday. Now with their future hanging in the balance, Newtown has to win the remaining 2 matches to salvage their season. Having the right attitude is what coach Anthony Nets Isaac wants his players to have for those games.
You still have 6 points to get, and I draw to the attention. Don't come in and beat up yourself because, well, okay, you lost that game, but just come back for the next 2 games, and we have to come back strong. Don't just give up because you still have 6 points to go out and get. Even though you come in and let's say we come third or fourth, it's a big achievement for the team because you came 9th last season, and you have to think about that day. So if you can't get into the final 2, you work hard to get 3 or 4th place. It gonna mean a lot to you guys. Yeah, I'm waiting to see it now, but it'll mean a lot to you guys.
Flow 4GK and Rockets FC has experienced the tale of 2 halves of the SKNFA Premier League season. For the first half, they dominated round 1, led the table for most of the season, and had one of the finest performances against the defending champions, St. Paul's United. But in the second half, they struggled, dropping down to the number 2 position at the end of the regular season. At that time, coach Al Edwards blamed the fact that he did not always have a full-strength squad at his disposal.
That was a very well played season, given the situation, cards, injuries, and the depth of the squad. I thought we did pretty well overall to get a 40-plus season. To be fair, I don't think we ever had a 40-plus season in a number of years. And as I said before, we've had a lot of injuries, as well as keepers still out. Card situation that we needed to manage that a little better. But clearly, if they have 4 persons on the national team and only 2 available to you, it means that you're down in terms of the quality you have.
So, with the hope that would change in the playoffs, there were anticipations of a drastic improvement and a deep playoff run. But it has been anything but at this point, as Keon only has 1 point after 3 matches and are at the bottom of the playoff table. Now they have to win their remaining matches to salvage something worthwhile this season.